The Houston Texans did what they were supposed to do, at least on paper, against the San Francisco 49ers today. They manhandled a team dealing with lots of injuries. They took care of business. We'll talk about the game. We'll talk about what this game makes us think about the team going forward. And maybe we'll even talk about my mustache. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast. Hit it!
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people wonder.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to say.
Grow up, motherfucker. You kidding me? Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oi! Welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is Sunday, October 26th, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video and subscribe on Twitch at Gallant Says. I like it when you give me a sub, but I'll settle for a follow. X, Twitter, at Gallant Says Pod. Instagram at Sports Gallant, TikTok at Gallant Says, and on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can join this show on weekdays, Monday through Friday, at noon Central Time. It's also on occasionally after major Houston sporting events, like today, where the Houston Texans took down the San Francisco 49ers 26-15. It's available wherever you get your podcasts after the fact. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, if you want to cut me off mid-thought. The best way to watch this show, in my opinion, is on YouTube. Super chat me on YouTube or Twitch. I'll get right to your comments and play this. But I will eventually get to your comments, which you can leave on all of those platforms, and you can get in touch with the show the old-fashioned way. We have a phone number. You can leave a voicemail at 281-836-3912 or a text message at that very same number, 281-836-3912. You can also send me an email, gallantsays@gmail.com. So I don't think any of us were looking forward to today's Texans game. I think it showed with the lack of attendance at NRG Stadium today, with the Texans wearing those H-Town blue uniforms. Probably should have worn battle red, given that the San Francisco 49ers have a national fan base, that they travel pretty well. But look, you can only play the team that's on your schedule. And that San Francisco 49ers team that had a 5-2 record on the Texans schedule is beat the fuck up. No Brock Purdy. Mac Jones is in. Defensively, no Fred Warner, no Nick Bosa. Lots of guys missing for this 49ers team. It is a miracle that they are 5-2 at this moment in time. Really is. They came to NRG Stadium with the Texans on a short week after a brutal game Monday night against the Seattle Seahawks. Texans picked themselves up, handled business against a team that they are better than. And this is a good sign. I know that the vibes were down, morale was down, but all you can do is beat the teams on your schedule that you're supposed to. And I know that the final score seems a little closer than you'd think, but this was a very, very one-sided game. Very one-sided. If not for a bad play on special teams, a huge return by the 49ers plus a face mask, I think there's a chance the Texans walk out of this game with a shutout. This defense is awesome. They continue to just make it difficult for any team they go up against. It's the best scoring defense in the league. Mac Jones was running for his life a lot of this game, only sacked twice. Christian McCaffrey, while he was pretty good as a receiver, the 3 catches he got for 43 yards, just 8 carries for 25 yards. And when you handle an offense the way that the Texans defense did, and your offense doesn't shoot itself in the foot and converts third downs in this death by 1,000 cuts offense, you can see how at the end of the game, the Texans out-possess the Niners holding the ball 41 minutes and 22 seconds to the Niners 18. Right before halftime, the Texans had the ball for 25 minutes. The 49ers for about 5. The defense really took care of business, and this was a really good performance for the offense considering they didn't have Nico Collins. I'm not going to say it's something to brag about or to be cocky about. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of season left, but I really do appreciate the resilience by this team in a week where everyone was calling out the entirety of this operation. DeMeco Ryans' communications with his players fairly called out. Weird comments made by Texans coaches, whether it was DeMeco or Matt Burke, the defensive coordinator, or Frank Ross. CJ Stroud, you're wondering about him as well. If you were able to watch the Fox broadcast of Texans 49ers after the game, you'll see that CJ Stroud gave a speech inside the locker room, and he talked about family, and it was kind of straight out of Fast and Furious, which I do appreciate that movie franchise. But he said ignore the noise. And look, they ignored the noise, and maybe they used it as motivation this week. I don't think this means that a lot of things have been fixed or questions have been answered. I just think the Texans once again took care of business against a team that they are clearly better than on the schedule, much like they did against the Titans. Eventually, took them way too long to get going, much like they did for the entirety of their game against the Ravens. And look, there are some similarities between the Ravens and 49ers, injuries, backup quarterbacks, but well-coached teams. Don't do a dance over this one, the way DeMeco Ryans wants his players to be dancing out there, but this is a baby step in the right direction. That defense is great, and you're hoping that this is something that the offense can replicate. Stroud looked really good. Really just one, I think, awful throw all game long. He did have a couple of misses, but less misses than we saw against Seattle. He took off when he needed to. Quarterback scrambles worked. Sneaks worked. And the Texans kept converting third downs. 9 for 16 on third down, which is something that they just need to keep doing. It's not going to be easy. But, you know, we talk about a death by 1,000 cut offense that CJ Stroud has brought up a couple of times. First drive of the game, 16 plays, nearly 10 minutes to the end of the field goal. We need touchdowns, not field goals. That's my big nitpick with this one. But let's just go through all the drives that the Texans had that led to scores today. 9 plays for a field goal, 10 plays for a touchdown, 11 plays for a field goal, 12 plays and 94 yards for a touchdown, 10 plays for a field goal. They were 9 for 16 on third down. Converted to 3rd and 1, converted to 3rd and 11. There was a 3rd and 7 that they were just short of the first down on, which set up a 4th down and 1 that they converted with a quarterback sneak. They were stuffed on a 3rd and 1, converted the next 3rd and 1, short on a 3rd and 9, converted to 3rd and 4, converted to 3rd and 5, short on a 3rd and 14, converted to 3rd and 5, converted to 3rd and 10, converted to 3rd and 7 for a touchdown, converted to 3rd and 5. You take a look at the conversions that they had to open up the game. If I'm doing my math correctly, let's count that 1 third down that they were just short of the sticks and went for it on 4th down as a 3rd down conversion. By Paul Gallant math, the Texans converted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of their first 13 third downs. Last 3, 0 for 3, game in hand by that point. But if there's an identity to come out of this game with this offense, I know Will Kunkel, my guy, had been asking questions about the identity of this offense. What is it? I don't think you necessarily need to have an identity, but I am somebody from New England and believes that the Patriots offense, being malleable, having a different game plan every single week is the way to go. Attack the weaknesses of your opponent. If this is what their identity is, good. And if it involves more of the young players getting the ball, whether it's Jalen Knoll, who's got to be on the field more when Nico Collins is back, Jaden Higgins, Woody Marks, great. That's what I want to see. That's what you should want to see as well. Tay713 leading off the comments. Good afternoon, kind sir. This game was the exact opposite of what happened Monday against Seattle. It really did feel like that for a lot of the game, especially late when the 49ers made it an 8-point game. You're like, what the fuck? This is just like how it probably felt for Seahawks fans against the Texans on Monday. Tay713 also says, I've been saying it all year. As long as the offense can be mediocre and help the defense at least a little bit, the defense will do the rest. I'm with you there. Brandon Halam 51 says, appreciate these wins. You have to. It's the National Football League. They're not easy. I think if you're a Texas fan, you're looking at the win against Kentucky, you're looking at the win against Mississippi State yesterday. You're definitely looking with those with a little bit of a side eye because style points do matter on the college football side of things. But you should appreciate them. You're a little embarrassed by them. You didn't deserve to win them, but a win is a win. You're 3-4. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. I do sense a little bit of apathy in some of the fan base, and I'm sure people who are at the game can give me a better picture about how many people were there, how many 49ers fans were there, but it's a step in the right direction, and now you play this Broncos team that's currently playing the Dallas Cowboys in a little bit. Rare Candy 86 on Instagram at Sports Gallant says the defense played great again. It's something you should expect every single week. Every single week. Ultimate Fan, what's up, brother? Joining me as well. My guy, how about that dub? What you gonna do, brother, when Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter are coming for you? Many people are asking. 49ers got that ass handed to them. Good. It's a good win. It's not something to have a parade about, and it certainly makes you a little bit frustrated that they couldn't click like this offensively in every single game, but this is certainly good. More comments here. Henry Lopez is not upset. Sell the team! I'm just kidding. Consistency's key. Yep. I would like a little more consistency offensively from this Texans team from a scoring touchdowns perspective. It was amusing, I think, in the eyes of some to see that there was that article Monday before the Monday Night Football game where D'Amico Ryan said, hey, if this team could think about the joy of scoring a touchdown, the celebrations that come as a result of scoring a touchdown, then maybe, just maybe, these touchdowns will be a little bit easier because the Texans will know that they can dance when they score a touchdown. It's a wild article. It really was a wild article. My Fubo TV is acting up right now. I do want to see the other games that are on. Here we go. Finally got it on. Took way too long to get that going. But all you can do is take care of business against the team on the other sideline. I understand there's a lot of apathy in the fan base, but again, all you can do is handle your business. Nick Main asks, what happened to ESPN Radio? Laid off. Budget cuts, baby. It do be like that from time to time. So that's why you got to join the Gallant Says podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review. Apple Podcasts. Spotify as well. Also on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram. Not Santa says on X, we want Aria. Well, my cat's not here right now. I'm sorry about that. Tay713 says, it's crazy to see how when you have your cornerbacks playing up on other teams' receivers, they can affect the other team's passing game more. It do be like that. Broncos, who the Texans play on Sunday, are wearing their beautiful orange crush uniforms, and they look like they're about to score another touchdown, up 14-10 on Dallas, who does not have a very good defense. But Bo Nix is looking good in this game, and that's who the Texans will play next Sunday at NRG Stadium. Broncos fans, for what it's worth, travel well, and flights from Denver to Houston are cheap. I wonder if there will be more Texans fans for that next game, but I do think that we have reached a level of apathy once again with the fan base when it comes to going to NRG Stadium, showing up, and I can't say I blame them. I can't. But the offense did what it's supposed to do today. A death by 1,000 cuts offense. Some nitpicks. Defensively, they did create a lot of pressure. They got a turnover at the end of the game. I'm not thrilled with the play by the Texans safeties this year. I felt that Kalen Bullock could have made a play on that touchdown pass down the seam to George Kittle. I thought that they could have made a play there. I think MJ Stewart, specifically on corner routes, got handled a bit himself. But that's really the only nitpicking I can do. You got to wonder next week, Sean Payton, great offensive mind, if he's going to see that on film and just attack and attack and attack and attack and attack and attack. Just continuously attack that part of the Texans defense. But listen, people, all you can do is take care of business. Do you want me to sing a song as we wait for more people to show up in the chats by Bachman Turner Overdrive? It's a great song. Taking Care of Business is a song written by Randy Bachman and first recorded by the Canadian rock group Bachman Turner Overdrive for their 1973 album Bachman Turner Overdrive 2. Interesting. Very interesting. Taking Care of Business lyrics. That's what I was looking for, Wikipedia, you fuckers. You get up every morning from your alarm clock's warning. Take the 8:15 to the city. There's a whistle up above it. People pushing, people shoving. And the girls who try to look pretty. And if your train's on time, you can get to work by 9 and start your slaving job to get your pay. If you ever get annoyed, look at me, I'm self-employed. I love to work at nothing all day. That's what I do. And I'll be taking care of business every day. Taking care of business every way. I've been taking care of business. It's all mine. Taking care of business and working overtime workout.
It's football time in Houston, and we're ready to play.
Thank you, Clay Walker, for the assist right there. CJ Stroud's performance today, I'll give it a B. Maybe a B+. Paul, what the fuck, man? You didn't have Nico Collins. Well, we got high standards for CJ Stroud. He did miss a couple of throws, and I am a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to CJ, but 30 of 39, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, the 1 interception right before halftime. Did not get sacked once. He had that. He had a couple of really good scrambles as well. Used his legs when he needed to. There was one in particular. It was 2nd down and 8, and Stroud came towards the near sideline. I was saying, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away, while rolling to his left. And instead of rolling out of bounds or throwing it away, he somehow tight roped the sideline and ran 13 yards for a first down. That was a really nice play by C.J. Stroud. He also had another scramble for a first down on a 3rd and 5 a little bit later. The quarterback sneaks worked. Paul, a B's too low of a grade. Well, again, it's a 49ers defense with no Fred Warner, without Nick Bosa. I felt like a bunch of other 49ers players got injured in this game, but listen, this is certainly a step in the right direction. Mimi Morales, 5978 says, football time in Houston. Paul, press play one more time. Mimi also asks, how good was this 49ers defense? I don't feel like they had a chance. There's no playmaker or a game changer on their defense. Yeah, it's a beat-up defense, and it's a beat-up team. And you're supposed to beat teams like this. To the Texans' credit, they have not lost a game to a team that they definitely should have beat, at least based off of where we're at right now. Jaguars are certainly looking a little bit suspect with that record of theirs because Trevor Lawrence isn't very good, but you lose to the Rams, you lose to the Bucks, and you lose to the Seahawks. All NFC losses, by the way, which also helps you out a little bit. Losing in division to the Jaguars, not great, but if you do want to talk yourself back into what this Texans season has been and this 3-4 record, you say, hey, this defense is great. This team does not lose against bad teams. I mean, they handled business against the Titans eventually. Ravens, all game, and 49ers largely all game. And now it's a matter of putting it all together against a team that's in the same tier as them. And I don't know. I don't know if they'll do that. I think we were all hoping for that to happen against the 49ers, or not against the Seahawks on Monday, and clearly that didn't happen, you know? Shout out to Dorino. Dorino believes I am the reason the Texans won because I am wearing a mustache right now. Could be. Could be. Big Al Cervantes, 5118, says, good win. Still don't trust Kaylee. We need an offensive identity. Well, they do have an offensive identity. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And you've heard CJ Stroud talk about it a couple of times. And he doesn't seem to be super thrilled with that. But I mean, today it was efficient. Braxton Berrios actually looked like he belonged out on the field. Jalen Noel, really impressive today. Jaden Higgins had a couple of plays himself. They're going to spread the ball out, especially without Nico Collins and without Christian Kirk. Who knows if we'll even see Christian Kirk this year. And they're going to dink and dunk you to death. And the hope is that the running game can actually complement him. And I think this is a real question that you got to ask about this offense, because this is a pretty good performance by the offensive line. There were certainly some mistakes. You had a illegal man downfield by Jake Andrews, a hold by Jake Andrews, a hold by Juice Scruggs, I think a hold by Titus Howard that was offset by a penalty. You want less penalties from them, but no sacks of Stroud. When the fuck has that happened? And they actually had a pretty good game on the ground. Not a great game, but a pretty good game. Woody Marks had 11 carries for 62 yards. He had a 23-yard run. That's a large reason for that number being what it was. Nick Chubb, 17 carries for 56 yards. On the ground, they walk out of today's game with 36 carries for 157 yards. A 4.4 yards a carry average. It helps out so much to be able to run the football. It also helps to find yourself in third and manageable situations, and that's why the Texans were so good on third down today. So if you're looking for an offensive identity, it is death by 1,000 cuts. Stroud has said it multiple times. Like, that's what they believe it is, and they're just going to have to execute like they did today against a 49ers team that is beat up, that doesn't have a lot of playmakers. It is not going to come easily against the San Francisco 49ers. But the good thing for the Texans is their defense is great, and it's going to keep them in a lot of games. I know it might not be the best watch. Games like today might be a little bit boring, but it ain't about pretty in this league. And when you have a defense that can maul people, and you got a quarterback that we all think has a lot of potential, this is how you got to win games. Edgar asks, how are we going to get a top pick if we keep winning games? Edgar, I'm sorry, but fuck off with that logic. Can we fuck off thinking about the draft? Ever, by the way. It's a lottery ticket. You have chances to make picks, but I mean, why do you need the number 1 overall pick? Why do you need the number 2 overall pick? Getting the number 2 overall pick instead of the number 1 overall pick because you actually tried to win a football game, which some people were upset by, which was fucking lame. At the end of that game, at the end of that year, with Lovie Smith in charge, where they beat the Colts. Oh, God, we beat the Colts. Oh, no, now we're not going to be able to draft someone who's fucking smaller than me. I hate it. I hate the people that want better draft picks. Like, fucking lame, dude. What if you get somebody with a pick and you don't take somebody after that ends up better than the guy you picked? Very real possibility in the draft. Stop thinking about the draft. Unwire your brain to stop thinking about picks and stop thinking about the draft. If you need to get your draft pick fix in, play Madden. But fuck off with this. Oh, they're going to have a worse draft pick. This is a team that should be a playoff contender, if not a Super Bowl contender. Just given their defense and given who's their quarterback. You know? Fuck off with the draft pick stuff. Oh, it's just disgusting. More comments. Dever Grant says, Paul with the porn star mustache. Good game. Now, need to come move the move more. What? I don't know what that means. Sorry. Ball movement on the offensive. Defense always does their job. Seems like you are commenting and driving, sir. Big Al Cervantes says, just start Jalen Noel. Yes, that is for sure something that we need to see. a little bit more of. Just a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. DeRhino says, weird how stepping up on the pocket consistently and getting the ball out helps your line avoid sacks. Yep. And some of these sacks are definitely on CJ Stroud. He's got to step up from time to time. Not all of them, but some of them. I think one of the frustrating things about these first couple of years, the honeymoon period that we're in with the Texans, it's that people seem to be really hesitant to throw any criticism whatsoever at one, DeMeco Ryans. And it's not to say, hey, if you criticize DeMeco Ryans, you want him fired, which the conversations that I had with DJ Bieneme this past week of ESPN, a lot of people drew that conclusion. No, that's not what anyone's looking for, but there are certainly things he can be better at, much like there's things CJ Stroud can be better at, you know? And you hope that you answer after an awful Monday game, specifically offensively, with a pulse. You're not checked out. You're not dead. And the Texans rallied, and they were probably pissed off about all the outside noise, which is great. And Stroud was better in this game. And he's trusting his legs a little bit more. And he keeps on talking about how he wants to trust his legs more. Edgar says, you really think we're a legit contender with that offensive line? Yeah, the defense, dude. The offensive line. Fuck the offensive line. 7 teams make the playoffs. Fuck thinking about the draft. You're not the Titans. You're not the Jets. You're not the Dolphins. You're not the fucking losers of the league. You're not. That's for those fucking losers. And that's what they are, losers. And thinking about the draft, it's a loser mindset. This is what the fucking Sixers did. It's weird that people talk about the draft. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Philip Parker says the defense gets better when the offense sustains drives. Yeah, I mean, god damn, the first half. To have the ball 25 minutes while the 49ers only had it for 5. Really impressive. Now, you got to fucking close the drives out with some touchdowns, but really liked that the offense was able to keep that defense rested and really make it difficult for the San Francisco 49ers out there. That was tough. Very tough. Captain Insano 713 brings up the 6-man offensive line. Yep, a lot of 6-man at the beginning of the game. Fuck it, you know? Play bully ball. Maul people. If you don't like your offensive line and you're constantly rotating in your left guard, Laken Tomlinson and Juice Scruggs, then, I don't know, 6 guys on the field. Wise guy Chris says the mental mistakes at the end of the first half, not good. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. This certainly wasn't a perfect game. Special teams need work. I mean, between the big return and the face mask that set the Niners up at the Texans 35, scored their first touchdown right before halftime, and then Kaimi Fairbairn with that bad kickoff to open the second half outside of the landing zone. I mean, you saw the look on DeMeco Ryans' face. He's already pissed off about Kaimi Fairbairn not kicking the ball out of the back of the end zone, not kicking a touchback at the end of the Seahawks game. And then that fucking happens. Yeah, that would drive me crazy. Mr. Homeless.2 says, it's better to come in expecting nothing than thinking how amazing we could be. I'm with you there. JJ Blackshear says if CJ Stroud is processed, the Texans would be a playoff team. He has to continue to play like that, though. Crime Stats Chad says on X, I hate draft talk in season as well. I'm not much of a fan of it in the offseason either. I hate all draft talk all the time. The people that talk about the NFL draft act like they know what's going to happen in the draft. And sure, maybe you know how a draft might play out based off of conversations, based off of insider information about teams that are scouting specific players. You might have a feel for how the draft plays out. But to predict whether or not a player is going to be good, I think it's bullshit. I think it's unfair for the players coming out to have unrealistic expectations for guys based off of pundits that aren't even employed by NFL teams to scout. And sure, there's people that actually do this for a living, and I respect the work that they put in, but does the work mean that they're correct 75% of the time, 60% of the time, even 50% of the time about players that they evaluate? And then we forget about how guys might be wrong about a specific player right after their first season, and we never really go back and think about what the evaluation of them was. And then 3 years later, a player ends up being completely different than what he was evaluated in before the draft. And I understand there's a lot of demand for NFL information during a time in the year where there's no football going on, but I fucking hate the draft industrial complex. I really do. Really do, man. Anyway, shout out to everybody sharing the live. Wise guy Chris, thank you very much for the follow. the TikTok side of things. TikTok at Gallant Says, Instagram at Sports Gallant, YouTube at Paul Gallant, Twitch at Gallant Says. More comments here. Dime628 says there's a big difference between talking about draft picks the last week of 2022 than October of 2025. For sure. For sure. Fuck, I think we were talking about draft picks during October of 2022. If we were even talking about the Texans at all, I think I was entirely talking about the Astros that time of year. By the way, I'm hungry, so I'm going to have an Uncrustables. This segment brought to you by Uncrustables. You know what I like to do with the Uncrustables? I like them a little bit frozen. A little bit frozen. Grape jelly is the way to go. Wise guy Chris, I feel like you might have this guy on your fantasy team. What more does Woody Marks have to do to earn the start? Well, they're going to give the ball to Nick Chubb a little bit more because he's a veteran. I think Marks is your third down back definitively right now. Clearly, we're not going to see Joe Mixon this year. I have accepted this at this point. So I'd like to see a little more Marks too, but also remember, Monday Night Football, they kept on giving the ball to Woody Marks in these third and short situations, and what happened every single time? Bad things, you know? The bad things. You're right, Crime Stars Club. Uncrustables, great. Slightly frozen is undefeated. I'm sorry I'm being disgusting, everybody. Sorry about that. Adrian Medina, JN5FN said, played a hurt team at home. Won't believe it till they win away games. Yeah, I totally agree with you. They did beat the Ravens, a hurt team, on the road. That was a hell of a catch. Goddamn, Broncos might be up 26-10 on the Dallas Cowboys. Not to the Texans play next week. Adrian, I understand where you're coming from. But truly, you can only play who's on your schedule, you know? And while there is a part of me that is poo-pooing this victory, they did get the win over a team they're definitively better than. They have 2 more home games against teams that they're going to be fighting with for playoff position. This game against the Broncos is going to be huge because the Chiefs are probably going to win the West. So this is perhaps a game that's going to be a tiebreaker at the very least. So you got to take care of business, and this Broncos offense is looking good against the Cowboys defense that isn't very good. I feel pretty good about the Texans defense ability to slow this offense down, but about this Texans offense without Nico Collins against the Broncos defense, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Adrian asks, you think we can beat the Broncos? Yeah, can. Yeah. I think the Seahawks are better than the Broncos. Now, the Broncos are on the same level as you, but if you're going into next week's game thinking the Texans don't even have a chance, and don't even bother watching, you know? And that's not me telling you how to fan. I'm just saying, I mean, as bad as they played against the Seahawks, they hung around for a while. It was because of that defense. The defense is going to give them opportunities to win games that, given where the offense is, hopefully in a better place by the end of the year, they're going to give them chances to win games they have no business winning, you know? Some comments. We got some questions about Joe Mixon. JJ Blackshear asks, do you still think Joe Mixon is going to be a Texans next year? I do not. I am very curious about Mixon's status, about what the fuck he's dealing with. It is crazy how radio silent things have been. Like, we don't even know what kind of injury he has at this moment in time. So I truly couldn't tell you. Another comment here. Texans 281 asks, where the fuck is Joe Mixon? Yeah, man, I don't know. I don't think we'll see him again this year, though. M Gentles 3 says, I don't think the defense was on the field long enough to warm up yet. Man, the first half, 25 minutes of possession for the Texans offense because of all those drives that they had. One more time, let's go through them. 16 plays, 57 yards, ends in a field goal, but nearly 10 minutes. Got to score a touchdown. 9 plays, field goal. 10 plays, touchdown. 11 plays, field goals. 12 plays, 94 yards and a touchdown. 10-play field goal drive as well. Death by 1,000 cuts. You know, that's the psycho sound effect. Adrian comments, I believe Seattle had a big defense. I believe our offensive line couldn't contain them, but I have faith. Yeah, their defensive front's one of the best in the league. They got Byron Murphy in the middle. He's fucking huge. The 49ers defense today, I mean, no Nick Bosa. It's just a different unit. No Fred Warner in the middle either, which makes it easy to run the football. So I'm not walking out of this game thinking the Texans offense has figured things out. Like, we saw them look this good against the Ravens. Then 15 days later, after a bye week, they come out completely flat against a good Seahawks team on the road. I don't know what to expect out of the offense on a week-to-week basis, but there are certainly some positives to walk out of this game with. You're hoping that Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins continue to get better and better confidence as the season progresses, because they're going to need to be playmakers for this team down the stretch, especially if Nico Collins is out for a long time. I know he's dealing with a concussion, but every now and then he has the hamstring issue too. These guys need to step up, as does Woody Marks. I think, and I know a lot of people are mad at Nick Caserio right now, and you certainly are fair. It's certainly fair to be mad at Nick Caserio given the offensive line construction, but Higgins and Noel look like they belong. Are they great players? No. Noel, though, has some upside. Noel has some Dell upside, and I think that was one of the comparisons that was made when they selected him. Dak Prescott just threw an interception, so, man, the Broncos are going to whoop the Cowboys. 27-10 right before halftime. Those uniforms are sick that the Broncos are wearing. I like the Texans uniforms that they wore today, by the way. I like their red uniforms, too. The traditional look not great, but these Broncos uniforms and the Eagles uniforms that they were wearing today, and the Bucco Bruce uniforms, and the old school Dolphins uniforms, and the Pat Patriots uniforms, and the Oilers uniforms. It would be great if the NFL would go back to some of those iconic looks. Cowboys have good uniforms, too, by the way. Adrian says we got to work on third down and goal. Yep. Spaced Out 94 says on the TikTok, we need Joe, but we don't need him right now. The offensive line needs to execute their assignments. No, you need Joe Mixon. If you had Joe Mixon, this is Joe Mixon. What he did last year with an offensive line that could not block for him at all is incredible. The amount of yards he was able to get where there was nobody in front of him actually blocking well. Mixon's better than Chubb. Mixon's better than Marks. Will he be when he returns? I don't know, because I don't know what kind of foot injury we're talking about here. If it's a Liz Frank or something like that, he might never be the same player again. The fact that everyone's being so mum about what he's dealing with is probably the Texans trying to protect him for when they inevitably move on from him in the offseason, because it's easy for them to get out of Mixon's contract, I believe, at the end of this season. Some more comments here. Big Al asks, do you think the Texans make a deal by the trade deadline for another offensive lineman? Never say never. It's a week away. But teams don't generally trade offensive linemen. The Texans trading Cam Robinson earlier this year seems to be a move that they did because Robinson was upset he wasn't playing. And maybe wasn't the best behind the scenes. But offensive linemen generally don't get traded. I think you're rolling with the offensive line that you have, and you're just hoping that they get better, working together, more of in sync with one another. D'Amico's of the belief that technique will make an offense that doesn't have a lot of talent on the offensive line actually be better. Do I 100% believe that? I don't know. More comments here. Captain Insanos asks, Paul, can we go get Breece Hall? I think you got to stop thinking about trades. I know people want to do it. The National Football League trades don't really happen like in baseball. Would getting a guy like Breece Hall help? Sure, Breece Hall is better than what you have. But is trading for a running back and giving up, I'd imagine, a decent pick to do that, because I don't think the Jets want to move on from Breece Hall. At least that's the way that they're posturing at this moment in time. It's probably going to cost you a mid-round draft pick, and I mean, you've got a guy in Nick Caserio who's certainly going to be, I would imagine, more aggressive than he normally would, just given that his job is on the line. If this season does not end up in the playoffs, I think he will get canned. But I don't think that they have to make a move necessarily right now, even though this is a team that certainly is frustrating a lot of people. Boner Jam asks, hey, Paul, what's going on with the mustache? Well, one, I dressed up last night as Magnum PI for a Halloween party. And two, every November for No Shave November, I wear a mustache. If you're not aware of No Shave November, people grow mustaches to, I forget what this specific charity is, but No Shave November is an annual campaign to raise awareness about men's health issues, specifically prostate, testicular, and colorectal cancers. For those who don't know me very well, my dad had a pretty advanced form of cancer back in 2001. He survived it. He's been in remission for a while, but it was a less than 50-50 chance of him surviving. This was back during a time that wasn't exactly the best for me, where my parents had also split up earlier in that year. One of the reasons I love sports as much as I do, where I was growing up, Massachusetts, the Patriots actually went on to win the Super Bowl that year. That was the first Tom Brady season. So I was in middle school going through all the changes and having all that go. But every single November going forward, I do want to, at least for part of the month, or at least as long as my girlfriend can tolerate it. She does seem to like the mustache. She says it's not bad. I will be rocking a stash. So that's why. Adrian says, no nut November. Fuck that, dude. Fuck that. Fuck that. Don't do that, guys. Spaced Out 94 asks, do you think we should have kept Laramie Tunsil? Heard he was toxic in the locker room. I think that was overstated. I just don't think he was a great leader for this offensive line. But toxic is, I think, extreme. I think that the entirety of the offensive line room wasn't great. You had an offensive line coach in Chris Strausser who was thinking about retirement. You had a guy in Cole Popovich who I think had resentment for Strausser and also had resentment for Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator, who wasn't a very good communicator, sometimes a bit insulting. So I think that there's a lot of things to look at last season as to why the Texans locker room was toxic, and it might not have had anything to do with the actual players themselves. They'd be better with Tunsil right now for sure, but is Tunsil in Washington changing what's going on in that locker room? I don't think necessarily they are. Big Al says the Texans should play the rookies, save Nico for later. Yeah, they should definitely take their time bringing Nico back, especially dealing with a concussion. Captain Insano asks, he has Liz Frank, Joe Mixon. I don't know. This is my theory. We really do not know what he's dealing with, but it seems like it was a foot injury or an ankle injury. Monster wants to make a trade for Joel Petonio, David Njoku. I'm telling you, I know you guys want to see the trades happen. They're probably not going to happen. Phoenix Lane asks, it does seem like the offensive line has improved, but the bar wasn't set very high. And you're going up against a defense that's missing a top pass rusher today. No Nick Bosa, and also missing a linebacker. So you can see why the Texans would do well running the ball and throwing the ball as well. But the death by 1,000 cuts offense was pretty damn good today. Hang on, guys. Are going to blow a snot rag. That was gross. Big Al says, Tunsil was undisciplined, too many penalties. Yeah, but I mean, today you had an illegal man downfield by Jake Andrews, a holding by Jake Andrews, a holding by Juice Scruggs, and a holding by Titus Howard. Holds happen. Chad Knows says there's rumor, inside info, mixing it a non-football foot injury. I honestly don't know. I really don't know. Esau 0912 asks, can the Texans still make a playoff push? I know the division is gone. Is it gone? You haven't played the Colts yet. I don't feel great about playing the Colts, to be perfectly honest. But I don't think the division is completely lost. It's the AFC South after all. How many years have we been following this fucking shit show? And the Texans have lost 3 of their games against NFC teams. Conference record, 2-1. Division record, 1-1. I would say going forward, if you compare their schedule to the Jaguars' schedule, the Colts' schedule, yeah, they have the first place schedule. Coming up next for the Jaguars, they play the Raiders. They're off this week. Then Texans, Chargers, Cardinals, Titans, Colts, Jets, Broncos, Colts, Titans. Jaguars have an easy schedule the rest of the way, but they also have Trevor Lawrence under center. Very inconsistent. The Colts, meanwhile, playing the Titans right now, they're up 17-7. Titans are being some pussies right now, punting the ball at Indy's 42 on a 4th and 4. What a bunch of pussies. Go for it. And then they punted a touchback. God, what a fucking loser team. Steelers, after that for the Colts. That'll be an interesting game. Road game in Pittsburgh. Falcons, I don't know what to make of the Falcons. That game is, where's that? It's 8:30 morning. Oh, it's the game in the Nazi country. My bad, they're not Nazis anymore. But Falcons, it's an interesting symbol of the Germans, I think, the Falcon. The Falcon logo kind of looks Nazi if you think about it. They're more eagles. The Germans are the brown eagle. But whatever. Hey, Paul, stay on topic. Fine. After the Falcons, at the Chiefs for the Colts, Texans at home, at the Jaguars, at the Seahawks, home game against a 49ers team that I imagine will be a little healthier, Jaguars and Texans. I think the Colts will come back to earth a little bit. I think their schedule gets a little tougher. So I don't think the AFC South is completely out of the question for the Texans. I also want everyone to know, I'm not super excited about today's game. I'm not like walking around with a pants tent. But I'm happy they won. You can only play the team that's on your schedule. It was a good game for C.J. Stroud. It was a solid game for the offense. We need some touchdowns, but they were good on third down. And the defense is great. And considering all of the weird quotes coming out of the Texans locker room this past week and the embarrassment of that Monday Night Football loss, which was late at night on a Monday too, this is a really good win. Is it like a, hey, we're going to look at this and talk about it at the end of the year kind of win? No, not even fucking close. But this is a good win. You should be happy about it. I don't know if this is enough to bring back like the casual Texans fans out there. And I'm not even going to dump on casual Texans fans because guess what? Like, why would you want to watch today's game after what happened on Monday? I can understand why Energy Stadium was largely empty. But this is a good win. Be happy about it. The John Father says, I'm not doing a dance about this either, but yeah, happy against a 5-2 team coming into it, for sure. Chad knows, oh man, you flew to Seattle for that game? That's tough. That is tough. Can't even imagine what it would have been like getting out of that stadium because the Seahawks fans are probably all miserable about the Mariners going down. Debo, what's up, bro? Spaced Out 94, that Broncos game is going to be so good. You think Jalen Noel could replace Tank? Well, that's what they're hoping for. That is what they're hoping for. I wonder if we do see Tank Dell by the end of the year. I think there was a moment at some point before a game where they were talking about how how Tank Dell was running sprints this year. But, I mean, to this point, Noel has been a lot like Tank Dell, except for maybe a little bit better as a returner. More comments here. YouTube at Paul Gallant. Biggest Skeeter saying Colts are looking like prime Patriots and that Daniel Jones is looking like prime Brady. Excuse me, Biggest Skeeter, but shut the fuck up.
I don't like that kind of thing.
Shut the fuck up. That is sacrilegious to my Lord and Savior, okay? We don't do that here.
Is the man retarded? Let me apologize for using that word. Oh. I have my first cousin. We just put him to, he died a few months ago.
How dare you, Biggest Skeeter? How dare you? Don Larry 77 says, I'm not falling for it again. I don't blame you. I don't blame you, man. But it's a good win. I'm doing my best to not be down about this, to not be negative about this, but this is a victory that puts you at 3-4, gives you a puncher's chance of potentially winning the AFC South, keeps you in the AFC playoff picture. Let's take a look at it right now. So here's the AFC. You can see along on the screen. Let me scroll down so you can see it. If you're watching along on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and X, you can actually see the whole standing. So Colts have the 1 seed at 6-1. Patriots at 6-2. By the way, just thinking about this Patriots season, if they don't turn the football over with a bunch of fumbles against the Steelers, they're probably 7-1 right now. They have the easiest schedule in the league. Easiest. So, grain of salt for all their wins, but they beat the shit out of the Browns. Jonathan Taylor, man, he's having a great year. He just ran for a long touchdown, giving him 63 rushing touchdowns in his first 75 games. Wow. Guy's good, man. He's having a great year. He's the reason the Colts are off to that great start. More in the AFC. You got the Denver Broncos 5-2. They're going to be 6-2, it looks like, with how they're kicking the Cowboys' ass. You've got the Steelers. Who do the Steelers play today? Are they off? Nope. They play the Packers tonight. Okay. Bills, 5 seed, 5-2. They handled business today. Who do they play? They won 40-7, I think. You got the Chargers, Jaguars. And the Chiefs would be out of the playoffs if the playoffs started right now. Texans are the 9 seed. Jets beat the Bengals, which helps the Texans out a little bit because the Bengals all of a sudden had a pulse after they took down the Steelers Thursday Night Football. So, look, it's you're not in the best spot, but playoffs are definitely possible. And can you overtake the Jaguars by the end of the year? Can you overtake the Chargers by the end of the year? Can you overtake the Steelers, Broncos by the end of the year? Like, it's certainly possible to overtake multiple of those teams. Esau0912 on TikTok says Drake May's good. God damn, I'm so excited about Drake May. I'm not going to lie. Jose says a W is a W. You're right. Stephen Marcus 275 says some of the CJ Stroud misses were bad. Look, quarterbacks miss targets from time to time. I think he was a lot more accurate today, but it is indoors. Certainly is indoors. Joe Cat Supreme says Tank Dell's hard to replace. You're right, you are there. Right, you are there. What else do we have? Steve Nash 845 says talking about the Patriots. Patriots easily could be 8-0. Sure, but they're not. You know. More comments here. You can join on YouTube or Twitch. You can also join on Facebook or on X too. Toro McJohnson 4069 says the Texans played like dog shit. Today's not dog shit. Come on, man. Should have scored more touchdowns, but this is at the very least a C+, B- victory. Like, the defense smothered the 49ers, and outside of that special teams gaffe that set the 49ers up with that touchdown at the very end of the first half, like, what do you point at as far as the bad for the Texans today? You know? Obviously, we're all still pissed about Monday. You can stay pissed at that game as long as you want. This doesn't erase this. This is not something that's worthy of going streaking down the streets of Westheimer, you know? Like, no. Also, just don't do that. That's just probably get hit by a car. Hit and run specifically. But no. Listen. Don't be such a Debbie Downer for every single game that this team plays that you can't appreciate that they took care of business today. In the words of Bachman Turner Overdrive. Hang on a second. Got a huck a loogie. I don't know what it is about talking for a long period of time, but builds up my saliva in a way where I have to. Maybe it's a little post-nasal drip where I've got to go. Tor McJohnson 4069 says Texans could be 4-3 if Enrito Oto'o doesn't miss the tackle on Baker Mayfield. Hell, I think didn't Azeez Al-Shaair nearly have an interception in that game early on too? Don Larry says, we see what CJ can do with a little bit of time. Casario should trade for some fire sale offensive linemen. There's very few fire sale offensive linemen. Usually those guys suck too. If a team is trading offensive linemen, it's because their season is over. And there are certainly some teams out there who are thinking about selling at this moment in time, but The odds of you getting an offensive lineman that helps things out, I don't know. Spaced Out 94 says, I just hope Nick Caley opens this offense more. I don't mind the out routes, but it's so predictable. Look, they're limited in what they can do without Nico Collins. I have no problem with the game plan today, but it's a home game. And the Texans were constantly ahead of schedule, which certainly helped. Jesus Hernandez says this was a moral dub, that the 49ers defense was third string. Yeah, the 49ers are really banged up. They got their backup fucking quarterback out there, you know? Like, would Brock Purdy have actually given the Niners more of a pulse? Probably. Purdy's a little more mobile. Though Mac Jones had a couple of nice little scrambles, which was surprising. The John Father asks, why is it that the scheme and play calling is better every time we have multiple offensive injuries? Why not keep this type of execution and play calling when they're healthy? That's a good question. But, you know, week to week, it's very hard to be consistent in this league. I know that sounds like some fucking cliches that D'Amico Ryans would have given you, that Lovie Smith would have given you, that David Culley would have given you, that Bill O'Brien would have given you, that Gary Kubiak would have given you, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, it's not wrong. Certainly not wrong. Torrick Johnson with the most accurate statement about the Texans in history. Texans exceed when expectations are rock bottom. Shit the bed once expectations are high. Yep. So if you continue to go into every single game with zero expectations, you can only be pleasantly surprised. But yeah, I think for a large portion of this city, team's out. Fan base is out. They're checked out. Even after this win today. And I don't blame you. I don't. You have low expectations, and whenever they do something of note, like when they won 9 games in a row back in 2018, no one gives a fuck. Which is frustrating, certainly, as somebody who used to do this for a living. Paul, what do you mean? Yeah, I mean, this is a hobby now. I'm just doing this as a hobby. So please super chat me so I can feed my cat. You know? YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Twitch at Gallant Says. Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. X at Gallant Says. At Gallant Says Pod. And on Instagram as well at Sports Gallant. Please like this video, follow, share. And after the fact, you'll be able to get this in podcast form, everybody. 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 You know? What else do we have here? Subscribe, rate, and review the Gallant Says podcast. Tell a friend. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. This is how you hear me now. The show airs live weekdays at around noon Central. We might change the time at some point in the near future because there will come a time where I actually have to get a real job, probably. At least as I wait to see for something to potentially open up. And I don't know if anything's going to potentially open up in your backyard. But I do appreciate all the support that you guys give me. Seriously, it means a whole lot. Really does. We will be back at it tomorrow at noon. We'll take a further look at this game. We'll listen to some of the things that were said by Texans players after the game, take a look around the National Football League and about something kind of concerning that's going on in H-Town. I'm a little nervous, not going to lie. We'll talk about it tomorrow, though. Until tomorrow at noon Central. By the way, Gallant Says at gmail.com is how you email. 281-836-3912, how you call, how you text. Until tomorrow at noon.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.
So long, farewell, and have yourselves a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Peace!